4:30, and welcome to the Mindset Michele show. Sorry, I think I scared Carrie then, being a bit too exuberant with the hello after we were just chatting pre-show. But hello and welcome, Carrie, to the show.
Hi, Michele. Hi, everybody. I love someone with energy like you. Don't you worry. So that's just a great way to do it. You know, everyone goes, "Whoa, that's a bit."
Well, they can't ignore it when it comes up on their screen now, can they? So welcome to the show, and today's guest is the fabulous Carrie Benedet, and we're so excited to have you here, Carrie. For those of you that don't know and haven't heard about Carrie, she's been working in that global leadership space for over 24 years in so many different areas and with different global leaders that I'm really looking forward to the conversation today, because we're going to be looking more and more at those really important soft skills and the skills that we believe and that many people would love to see from leaders going forward, from people coming out of COVID. What is it that we need? What types of skills do we need? And also, one of my favourite areas is talking about the self-leadership. So we'll be covering that as well today, because it's not just looking outwardly and going, those leaders need to do this, this, and this. It's actually within yourself as well. But before we get into that, I know that everybody watching is so excited to hear some more about your story and how you came to be the fabulous Carrie that we're seeing today. So over to you, Carrie.
Yeah, you've asked for it, Michele. Thank you. I was actually christened Caroline, so I'll give you the heads up, right, Caroline? And I never got it unless I was in trouble. Right? Eldest of 6. Right, so a pretty loyal daughter. So, and everything that's on the birth certificate, you know, when you've got to give all your details over when you're enrolled in, you know, job and blah. So everything officially is Caroline. Because I just go, no, absolutely not. It's not. It's Carrie. And they just look at me, really, Carrie? And I go, yeah, just like in carry a bag. And they just go, did she just say that? You know, what's going on? And I just go, ask me the next question. And they look, which type of bag? And I go, Chanel, CC. that gets me the 2 C's, Carrie and Caroline. So it's been a life's journey. I'm probably a little bit older than you, Michele, and I just think it's just amazing that we are given the opportunity to develop and grow. And I had a significant birthday a couple of years ago, another significant birthday, one of those decade ones. And one of my boys, I've got 4 children with my husband, Luciano, who's Northern Italian. But one of the boys said, you know, Mum's just not content to be. She's becoming. And I have never forgotten it. And I think that's like all of us. We are becoming. And when we get the opportunity, why not become what those dreams are made of and what you've always felt that's been part of you? So how'd I go? Wow. Did I answer that or not?
That's fabulous. So 4 boys and a husband.
No, 3 boys and a daughter. She came in second. Yeah. And out of the 4 of them, 2 of them have produced 7 little Australians. Oh. And we have a wedding in March. So I looked at them both and I said, go for 0 population growth, guys. Not a problem. That'll get us up to 9.
Well, I don't know. I used to play soccer in my younger days. So if you get up to 11, you could have your own soccer team there. So.
That's right. So, and I can't wait because there's a carload coming down over the border from Queensland. The problem will be, will they get back home? But anyway, and what's it going to look like? But it will be so lovely because you do miss them. But I can't believe we have been able to connect so well virtually, and for me that's been a lifesaver. So that all those global leaders that I've gotten to know around the world, people are so generous, and I have met the most beautiful people. There are still people that are very difficult. But they probably find me difficult. If I put it back on myself, they probably find me difficult as well. So, you know, wow. that's part of this notion of mindset, isn't it? That we're going to talk about
It
today.
is. And before we get too much into that, just to kind of stick more with you and your background so people get more of a sense of who you are. So you have a number of children. Did you go to university? What sort of studies have you done around leadership and the area that you work in?
Well, I'm teacher trained, and I was the first degree course to go through for home economics, would you believe? So I had a real passion for design and fashion and sewing, and then to teach that, in those days you had to teach home science. So give me 100 people to cook for, no problem. It's harder when there's only just 2 of you, I reckon. But so I did that for a little while. Then I had a decade at home where I basically had a cash tax department in a cash business, sewing at home while the kids were growing up. I thought, well, you know what, we've got our own play group, we've got other friends in the same boat. Paul Keating and the government decided it was 17.5% interest rate, so I just sewed like a navvy, and we did well. I look back on it and go, well, you learnt a whole lot of skills in those days. So when I was a parent, though, at the primary school, I got involved in the Parents and Friends Association, and probably was seen as fairly reasonable to deal with. And so I thought, right, well, I'll put my foot forward. So I've always been someone that's went, okay, I'll have a crack. I'll have a go at this, I'll give it, as I say, a red hot shot. And
that's the theme that I can hear coming through. So thank you for giving us a little bit more insight into you and your background from P&C through everything else. Yeah. And I think that it puts into context a little bit more what your son was saying about you're always becoming, you're not being. So you're a very active person, very curious person, doing different things. And it sounds like during COVID, you were doing a lot of connecting with people online around the world. Out of all of that, what do you think then has formed your view about what is success? What does success mean to you?
Well, it's got to be individual, doesn't it? It's got to be individual for you, what you see as successful, and not be compared to others. Now, we're based on an economic.
So your definition for you, so not for others and not kind of in that theoretical sense, what do you now think of as success for you?
My success is having a voice that I believe doesn't necessarily have to be loud and upfront all the time, but can influence others and connect others. So I'd call myself a connector. And I do that because I believe I'm curious about people's stories, and our stories connect us. So for me, the mindset is about finding out about the value of each one of us, because we are all someone's precious creation. And
so success for you is about being able to connect with people and that connection element.
And it's also being able to put into place some of what you believe in that's actually then going to help others basically walk the talk, sort of a shoulder or a set of feet that can carry you when you need it or walk with you. But yeah, you walk the talk. So everyone has.
So you see success for yourself as walking the talk of what you define and say to other people. You're then modelling yourself. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yeah, I think you can be a role model. You don't need to take yourself too seriously. I think you need a sense of humour about it. You need to be confident in your self-awareness and your own self. So if you're confident in yourself, and I wasn't necessarily super confident all my life. I always did what was expected, and there's a lot of people, especially these days, we've got a whole lot of change occurring. So to be successful in change can often be blocking people, can often just stump people, and they don't know how to do it. So
yeah, and I think that that's a lovely way to kind of go into what you were saying about you weren't always confident, and not everybody's always confident about what they're doing. So that's a lovely way to then share your tips and your tools that you wanted to share today about suggestions for how people can build their confidence, build their X, Y, and Z as they build that mindset for resilience and to be successful. What sort of tips would you share with people?
Well, we've got the best tip of all. I'm fortunate to have two hands. So if I pick up one of my hands, my left hand, say, and I look at it and I go, right, you've got fingerprint, a totally unique fingerprint here. So I've been using this take five, have a look at this hand and go, where are my resources? You know, we teach this to our children in school, protective behaviours strategy around where can I go, who can I speak to if I'm not feeling safe, what do I know I can do for myself without interaction. So we do all that. So the take five for me is something that's really precious. I can look at it, and one of the things that I've built into everything I do, and we did it just before we came on live today, was to take some breaths, use the breath. We've been gifted with breathing to keep us alive, a heart that beats. And so I just like to go, right, if I need 5 minutes, I know it's going to help settle me, calm me, or move from one job to the next, or one difficult situation to the next, or one, you know, awkward conversation you've got to have with somebody. I just pick up my pinky finger on the right hand, and all you have to do is just gently close your eyes, inhale going up the top of your thumb, and exhale going down. And you do that 5 times on each finger. It doesn't take 5 minutes, but it is extremely, the feedback on this is fantastic.
So I'm a little bit confused. Is there 5 things, or you're just talking about one thing using your hand?
You do take 5. You take 5 inhales, exhales.
Okay, so the take 5 is taking 5 inhales and exhales using your fingers.
You just breathe in once and then down. Again, down, but you do it for every finger 5 times. And that's been working a treat for a mindfulness activity. So that's one of my tips, is that we all need to be able to move from one thing to the next and feel like we're doing the best we can in that situation.
That's great. I'm still a little bit confused. So the tip is around doing the 5 breaths 5 times on each finger. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fabulous.
Well, if you want to change it, you can go all the way along, whatever suits, but it's going back. It's consistency. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale.
This is why I'm trying to understand, because sometimes you were saying it was on each finger, or is it just on the first finger doing inhale, exhale?
You do it 5 times on each finger. You start on the thumb and then go down. Yeah. You do it 5 times, then you go to the pointer finger.
That's why I was saying
you go to the index finger. Yeah. Sorry. So number 2 tip,
just to be really clear.
Yeah. Number 2 tip is about being clear in how you communicate. So let's flip it and go, okay, not everybody learns the same way as we do or understands us. So you know, you're going, okay, so what I just learned about Michele is we need really clear instructions. And you're quite right, not everybody does it, because if it's something they've never done before.
Well, and I was strangely exhibiting one of the key things with that, which was I was trying to do it back to you and asking questions so that I understood and could do it for myself. And I think that that's one of the key things with these types of tips is so I demonstrated beautifully how I didn't understand.
Thank you. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And what do they say about just you got to fail? The little small fails actually get you to the consistency and the practice and the usefulness of it. So great example.
And I think the other thing we said about confidence was having the confidence to check it out. So it's not always easy, and I will say that for people. I didn't feel that easy asking questions because I wasn't getting it. But, you know, the world didn't end, and it was really good, and you were very kind, Carrie. You kept kind of explaining it to me until I got it. And so people are, I think, quite generous, like you were saying, in their support of you to really understand what they're saying. It's just if you don't understand, speaking up.
Yeah. And look, I think what we've just done is demonstrate really well this notion of self-awareness, so aware of how you come across or how you may affect other people. Like I've friends who say to me, oh, for crying out loud, you're an optimist. I'd actually call myself a realist. And I'd go, yeah, but I'm I'm pretty real in lots of, I'm quite pragmatic, but, you know, and they go, oh no, you're definitely an optimist. And I said, is it just because I can look at a situation and go, look, you know, the kids come down with a new school shirt on that you've washed over the weekend and there's a big drip of toothpaste right down the front. And instead of going off your nana, going, oh my God, I just spent all weekend cleaning your clothes, look what you've done. You go, fantastic job, you've cleaned your teeth. So that they're the sort of the things that I think, that's that above the line thinking that we can do, not the below the line thinking, which is narrow and can lead to catastrophizing about things. So I do believe that there's solutions. So the other,
and I think that that's really great, because I've heard people talk about the glass half full and the glass half empty,
yeah,
but I've never heard that one about the toothpaste on the shirt. I think that's a really great example again of looking at the positives rather than freaking out about, you know, I just washed that shirt.
And in the scheme of things, is that life threatening? You know, it's solvable, and God bless you. You know, you can actually make it into a prayer or an intention. You know, while you're doing that, whatever way you think. But I look back on those times with the kids, and I go, you learn so much now when they're parents now. I still are learning more about how they're parenting, because I'm thinking, wish I'd known that all those years ago. You know?
And you somehow picked up on in that, you know, that whole positive reinforcement. So if they had have been told off for getting the toothpaste on their shirt, they might not brush their teeth because they'd be worried about spilling toothpaste onto a clean shirt. But by reinforcing the behaviour you wanted, which was clean your teeth, then you're right, you know, that the messy shirt, somebody at school would pick it up and they'd soon wash it off and stuff. So
it's just, but look, I think that's that bit of self-awareness about yourself and how you come across, but it leads you to be more curious about others. So if you're aware yourself, you can be aware of them, and then what they need. And so one of the other things I've been talking about is this notion of, what do I have to consider when I'm working with someone who I don't quite know? I have to find out a little bit about them. So I used you as the example. So I said to you, what I just learned about Michele is you needed a clearer definition. Okay. So if you put that into your family of origin or your relationships or your friendship groups or your workplace, there'll be people who you go, oh, I've never really warmed to them, right? Or I've never, you know, as a leader, it's our job to actually get to know people and to show them that we are a genuine person with a heart. We use our eyes for twice as much observing and ears for twice as much listening and not talking as much, but we use our heart because that gives us more insight into them and what they need. So we go, right, well, I know Michele, if I'm having a meeting with her, it's scheduled for Thursday at 9 a.m, she needs to have the information 3 days beforehand. Right?
Not quite so much that, but I think that what we're talking about is people's different styles or different ways of learning.
Yeah.
So what you were picking up on is that I am not as good when people just say things. So my weakest area is auditory. But when they're showing or kinesthetic, I learn quicker. But the other thing is that, yes, you're right. And interesting, Alan Stevens was on the show the other day. And when he was talking about the eyelids over my eyes and explaining about how, well, that shows that I'm an information taker. So what I'm doing as you're talking is I'm absorbing that information to then speak back. So if I don't understand it, so I can repeat it back so people hear the information twice, then I need to understand it so I can repeat it back. Like with your children at the beginning when I said 4 boys and you went, no, it's actually 3 boys and a girl. So I then learned, oh no, it's 3 boys and a girl. But that's where my brain is going like 100 miles an hour, but it needs the information to then feed it back. And when working with leaders and people globally, what we've found is it's very much that distinction between the learning styles. That some people, they just want you to turn up and they want to get to know you, and it's a personal relationship, and sometimes it's cultural as well. And other people, they need all of that information laid out before they can like go, oh, okay, I trust that this person knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And in terms of the mindset stuff, I think that this is really important with what we're sharing today, because whether they're a leader or whoever it is that you're communicating with, understanding those differences is actually the key to building that communication bridge between what you're saying and how they interpret it and whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and to me, our well-being is really important, is particularly over the last 18 months. I think we've been leading up to it, but particularly our well-being is affecting the way we're showing up, the way we're able to collaborate and relate to the people we're working with and in our homes. I mean, there'll be some disastrous, highly emotional environments all around the globe in the last 18 months, and we've seen evidence of it. And so I think let's look at this notion of the fingerprint, our unique fingerprint. And what we want to do is be able to recognise when we're being what they call unproductive in our behaviours, when we're being insensitive, when we're being temperamental, when we're being closed in our thinking, we're being quite stubborn and passive, you know, or very narrow. No, this is the only way it's going to be done. That's it. If we can recognise that in ourselves, we can then go, right, this is where I want it. This is where I'm going to try to be most of the days. And it's pretty hard. You can't do it 100% all day, I don't think. But if you recognise where you're sitting in a particular instance, just say, I've got a big surprise. And I'm using you as a guinea pig today, so thank you for playing.
That's all right.
Yeah, but if you'd said to me, oh, no, I don't want you to talk about that, and that's totally wrong, I would have gone, okie doke. So I could have got my back up and I go, oh, that's, and I go, okay, what do I need to know? This is how I want to show up as sensitive, as empathetic, being genuine. I want to be genuine, say, oh, that's hilarious. Let's try that again. Let's be real and go, yeah, okay, make the mistake, let's move on. But I want to be as open and expansive in my thinking as possible, so I can look for, okay, that's not going to work. How about I try this? How about I try this? And that's where I want to be. And the emotional intelligence world that Daniel Goleman opened up many years ago, here now in Australia and globally, there's a company called Genos International. And I'm certified, as you found out, I'm certified for their products, and but the community is the gold. Where people are, willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, where you're going, okay, I want to get to know you just a bit more. So,
and I think that what you're describing is very much outside of that community, so that people get the skill and the tip as well. It's actually what we were demonstrating and how we were able to go through the different parts of the interview and the discussion dances as such, is that sense of curiosity. So I think the tip is around, no matter what emotion may be coming up, to actually stick with your original curiosity. And that's the emotional intelligence part that you're describing so beautifully around. If you keep with the curiosity, no matter what emotion might be coming up, you will find that you actually can navigate your way through things much better than if you actually stay in that emotional reaction of, oh, okay, this, that, or whatever in terms of my emotions has happened. That emotional curiosity will help you to work out, oh, okay, it's a different style of this, it's a different approach to that, it's a different belief system around whatever that might be. And by being in that curious space, it'll help you, like we're talking about, understand more about yourself, more about, I didn't know that auditory was probably one of my weaker areas for many years. It took a lot of, trial and experiment to realise, oh, okay, I'm sitting in a university lecture and I have to write every single thing practically down, because it was in the writing of it down and seeing it that I learned it, not when they actually were telling me the information. So all of these things are really great tools to keep learning about yourself and learning about what works for you to help with your mindset.
Well, I'm just going to amplify that take 5, because we're emotional beings. We're built to fight, flight, or freeze. And so when we get this big shock, say we get a shock or something very different's happened to us, an event happens, we can actually use our breathing. We can actually use that technique to get us from the shock and the immediate, I've got to react. And so we start to get narrowed thinking there. We can actually move ourselves from the primitive brain on either side of our skulls here into the prefrontal cortex, where we can be more lateral thinking and more creative in our responses. And that, we know that emotions affect our decisions, our performance, and our behaviour. So that's what we're looking at when we're working with people. Global leaders everyone's got their own tricks and strategies that they used over time, and they laugh and they go, oh, well, I had to learn that the hard way, but I think that has been one of the biggest things for me, is to know that there's a neuroscience, there's a reason why we do what we do, why we hold on to things that we've thought have been the truth for all these years. And so the connections globally have opened up lots of different ways to think about things and look at solutions that we perhaps never thought of.
Well, and I think that, again, what you're describing is that your connections now with these different people globally has, again, as I was saying, it's expanded that curiosity where we're with different people from different cultures, different ways of experiencing life and the world. You've actually experienced different ways and seen different people react. In fact, it's funny, when you described that as you were a mother earlier, I was thinking, well, I always remember the similar to the breathing you were talking about, the count to 10 before you open your mouth.
Yes.
So stopping and pausing so that before you let those emotional reactions come forward, you actually have breathed in for the count of 10 and then reacted, or then spoken about what your reaction is, so that you're acting rather than reacting to the situation.
It's interesting you brought that up, because one of, my daughter's little people, she has a blackboard wall like a lot of families do. And at one point there were all these little emojis, and she was teaching him what the difference was between the sad face or the sad face or the happy face, and getting him to go and say, tell me how you feel, use your words. So he learned at a pretty early age to tell, I'm not feeling this way or this way, and then describe it. So that whole notion of a vocabulary around how you're feeling, and not just using happy, sad, or angry, but being able to say, actually, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling so disappointed, or oh, I've been trying this for a couple of times and I can't nail it. That gives people more information. It goes, oh, I'm just angry with myself.
And it comes back to that being able to communicate that we've so beautifully talked about. And I wish we could keep communicating for many more hours more, because there'd be so much to share. But if people did want to contact you and find out some more about you and what the work you're doing with the global leaders, what's the best place to contact you, Caroline?
Oh, thank you, Michelle. As you can see, I've got Caroline up there, so that's the official name. I should have changed that. So it's I'll do it now for you so you see it. Let's go here. And
so we only have a couple of minutes. Don't worry about it, Carrie.
Done. Already done. So carriebenedet.com is the website. You'll find the same name on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can basically, try any of those.
Fabulous. And one or two words, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Listen to your own voice and not the expectations of others.
Fabulous. Well, Carrie, it's been such an amazing journey today. So many wonderful tips and examples as well. We haven't had so many examples before in a show of how to be curious, be open, and use all of these different mindset tools to help you to create a better life for yourself. So thank you for being the guest today, Carrie.
Thank you for having me and for playing in the sandpit, as we say. Thank you, Michelle.
It's been a fabulous sandpit of life again today. And I love this format of live, because it literally is happening as we speak. So Thank you to everybody and all of my regular fabulous viewers that come in every week, and to wherever you are in the world, from my heart to your heart. Be great, be fabulous, and be you.